COOD Commonwealth. Good morning, Commonwealth family, and happy Mother's Day to all the mamas, aunties, big mamas, godmothers, great aunties, grannies, and the plate aunties. I hope that you had a special day despite the fact that we're in quarantine. This week we continue our series, Strength for Today and a Bright Hope for Tomorrow. I'm not sure about you, but for me, this sermon series is coming just at the right time. It's coming at the right time simply because we have everything hitting us at the same time while seemingly we are running in place. The only reason I know it's Sunday is simply because I get to share this time with you. It's important for us to have some sense of normalcy during this COVID-19 global pandemic that's going on, but keeping even the smallest schedule can be hard. But the beauty in all of it is this, and the point of this series is this: God knew this would happen. And in His Word, it's littered with little subtle reminders that literally speaks to us and shows us that His faithfulness is great and new with each passing day. Last week we touched on the fact that we should do like Isaiah and the writer of that beautiful hymn we just heard, and take a retrospective look back over our lives. And when we do that, we can see that it's only by the mercy of God that any previous situation, from hurricanes to illness, that God is the only one that's kept us. It's not our cars or our clothes, it's not our homes or our zip code, it's simply God. And it's imperative for us to realize during the season that we can't waste this silence time. We can't rush back to things going back to the way they used to be. What was will never be again. We've lost friends, we've lost families, and we have to deal with the actual reality that some things won't ever be the same. Listen. We have nothing to literally distract us during this season. There's no excuse to why we can't be closer with God during this time. There are no sports, there's no TV shows, there are no malls, and even Amazon Prime can't even come in 2 days. And so the only thing, and I do mean the one only thing that we have during this global pandemic isn't government. It's not family who actually can't even come out of their own homes. It's the grace and mercy of the all-powerful God. Isn't that beautiful that in the midst of chaos, in the midst of everything that's going wrong, government doesn't know what's going on, schools don't know when they are going to reopen, but God is the only hope we have. We have that hope that others may have to be in our way to simply destroy us. God, by His right hand, restores us. It's really that simple. Oftentimes we make it overcomplicated when we think that we're in a prison, when the reality that God has us silent on purpose. He really does. I mean, when you really think of it, there's no excuse, none, for us not to get up Sunday morning. We don't have to get up and go to work in the morning. You didn't go anywhere Saturday night, and Friday night you was at the same place you was Thursday night, at home. There's no excuse for us not to be sharing in the realness of God's Word. There's no excuse for us not to be sharing these links, not to be avidly up and ready for worship because we have nothing else. It's nothing, literally. It's nothing. We can't go to a Tigers game. Concerts are canceled. And we want to believe that our home is a jail cell. And it's only like that for those that have never been in jail. You know, like if you have been in jail, you know you would love to be at home and not at jail. But time after time, I'm online, Cardias, and I'm seeing people saying, I can't wait to just break out. I can't wait to break free. I can't wait to just break free. And I recall when you used to want to go home. You used to want to go home. You used to want to stay there. I remember. I was about 3 years old when my grandfather, the year was 1990, and my grandfather got me up on a Sunday morning. It was February 11th. And got me up and positioned me in front of the actual TV. At that point in time, there was nothing but news on. News and Jim and what's her name with the hair? Tammy Faye Baker. That was the only thing on Sunday morning. So it was the Sunday morning news. We weren't getting ready to go to actual church. We weren't getting ready to do nothing. My grandfather turned on the big screen TV, and I recall the entire family that was there at his house gathered around the actual TV the same way everybody rushed to be around their phones when the news of Kobe Bryant broke. And what I saw on that screen changed my life forever. I wasn't sure what I was watching at the time, but I recall my grandfather saying, 27 years. That man waited 27 years to get out of that building and came out without a broken spirit. I later come to realize that gentleman that I watched walk out of that building was none other, than Nelson Mandela. He would go on to be the first president of South Africa, a man that they literally locked away and threw away the key. He was limited to one single visitor for 30 minutes per year and allowed to write one letter and to get one letter every 6 months for 27 years. And somehow when he walked out of that prison in South Africa on that Sunday morning, he came out of it with an unbroken spirit. And he had quotes for days. I mean, because if you're locked up and you're in jail for 27 years, you can only pray and actually write, I assume. So he had quotes for days, and one of his famous quotes was this: when I walked out of prison, that was my mission, to liberate the oppressed and the oppressor both. Some say that now that has been achieved, but I know that's not the case. The truth is that we are not yet free. We have merely achieved freedom to be free, that right not to be oppressed. We have not taken the final step of our journey, but the first step on a longer and an even more difficult road. For to be free is not merely to cast off one's chains, but to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedoms of others. That's the true test of our devotion to be freedom. To be free. And freedom is just the beginning. Freedom is just the beginning. If I can pause from a standpoint, we're living in a day and time in which we hear everybody has all these rights, but if I can stand honestly from this other side of this pulpit, I can say it seems like not everybody shares in the same rights. Oh, I am not trying to be political, and I dare say that I, as a 6'2", 300-pound black guy, should be able to run in a neighborhood that I want without being shot. And believe it or not, that's not even in my text, but it just so happens to flow that how is it that we are trapped in our homes with broken spirits and we have the ability to be free, yet a man that was held captive for 27 years walked out of an actual jail with an unbroken spirit. See, the power to actually liberate requires us to have God's grace. And everything we are to do, we are to have God's grace, because God gives us grace even when we don't deserve it. So shame on us. Shame on us that don't give grace back to those simply because they don't look like us. Because they didn't grow up the way that we grew up. They're not from the same places that we're from. They don't drive in the same cars. Our kids don't go to the same school. Shame on us this morning when we don't extend grace, when God freely gives it to us. It requires us, living requires us to have both his grace and his mercy. It requires us to be in a peculiar place that often comes out of being in an isolated place from everything else but the sovereignty of God. And that's where we're at this week. That's where we've been at last week. That's where we're going to be at next week and the week after. We're in an isolated place that simply means that all we have is God and God's sovereignty to keep us. See, the beauty of our lives is this, that it may seem as if we're held captive by this pandemic in real time. We have to know that it's a great honor to be isolated yet insulated. See, to be isolated means that we're alone, yet we're also insulated simply because God keeps covering us despite of what's going on around us. We're isolated, yet we're insulated, which means although we are disconnected from the very things we think have some power, things that we give power, those things have power over us. In this time, we learn that like I said, it's God keeping us safe from what danger seen and unseen. You guys, somebody check, you can't see the actual flu. You said you can't see COVID-19. You can't see unemployment until it's too late. Isolated, but insulated at the same time. Although we revere Nelson Mandela for having been so courageous, this isn't the first time that words written from a political prisoner wrongly placed in a cell found our ears. This isn't the first time that we find ourselves in a situation where we can only depend on God. Nelson Mandela was able to see freedom on this shore, but for Paul, that freedom would literally have to wait until he reached heaven's golden shores. We live in a world where some can go to state capitals and brandish guns, but others can't take a jog in a neighborhood that they live in. Some people may seek freedom. That's correct. Some people will seek freedom, but the reality is some people will have to wait till the by and by. We'll have to wait till we get on the other side of it. And that's the reality, is that everything we do down here is simply temporal. This is a temporal building. These are temporal lights. I am a temporal person. One day, Torian will literally be no more, and somebody's going to preach this word to you. And if it's not to you, it is going to be somebody that looks like you, lives like you, somebody that you love, somebody that you taught. Everything is temporal. We have to remember that we should be isolated during this season. yet insulated. In the final pages of a group of letters that will go on to go to the church at Philippi, cut off from the world, cut off of all the things that gave him external joy, things that he was able to find strength for himself. Paul was able to find strength for himself with this subtle reminder found in the 4th chapter of Philippians, verses 12 and 13. And I'll be reading from the New Revised Standard Version, which reads as follows. I know what it is to have little, and I know what it is to have plenty, and in all circumstances I've learned the secrets of being well fed and of going hungry, of having plenty and being in need. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. The Amplified Version reads as follows. I know how to get along and live humbly in difficult times. I also know how to enjoy abundance and live in prosperity. And in any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret of facing life, whether well-fed or hungry, whether being in need or having nothing. I can do all things which he has called me to do through him who strengthens and empowers me to fulfill his purpose. I am self-sufficient in Christ's sufficiency. I am ready for anything and equal to anything. I am ready for anything and equal to anything through him who infuses me with inner strength and confident peace. I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. If but for a few moments on this beautiful Mother Day Sunday here in Michigan, I can speak from the subject borrowed from my friend and the chairman of our deacon board, Deacon Tyrone Renford. Don't be naive, for we've been here before. Don't be naive. We've been here before. Today's text is a gentle, subtle reminder of our past and our present. Paul speaking from a place of total discomfort, yet finding comfort in everything that God has did for him before. His life speaks louder, or should speak louder to us in this season, using this text than ever before. Let's not get it twisted. Let's not get it twisted. There have been some times where life has rendered us absolutely embarrassing moments that have kept us in the house when we wanted to go outside. Maybe it was when you didn't make that basketball team at school and you didn't want to go back to school to have to deal with those that made the basketball team. Maybe you finally got the nerve, Carnes, to send that girl that letter, would you be my girlfriend? Y'all know the ones where you would fold it up and put the yes, no, maybe, and you fold it up all right, and it came back to you without the yes, without the maybe, and it was a flat out no, and you wanted to stay in the house then. I guess maybe I'm just talking to me and you, and actually I am just talking to me and you, because nobody is here because we're isolated at home thinking that that is the actual problem, when the reality is we are rushing to get back outside and do nothing. There's folks that are complaining now. I've seen it on Instagram. I have seen it in emails. I have seen it on calls at work. Complaining. I used to see them go through the halls at work talking about, I can't wait to get home. And these same people like, oh Lord, just as soon as you let me get outside. What are you going to do? Wow. What are you going to do? Have you grown closer to him? Is it that you are ready to give over power back to something else and not power to God? What is the rush? See, maybe it was the fact that maybe you're like one of our members here. She swears up and down. She tells me every chance she gets, Pastor, I was on this team when I was in high school. I was on this team. I think it was the flag team. She was on the flag team. And so maybe you really didn't make the flag team. You see me out there? Maybe you didn't really make the flag team and you didn't want to go back to school to deal with that. Maybe you didn't get into the college that you applied for. You had the right ACT scores, your grades was right, you're a triple legacy, and you still didn't get in simply because you got a C- in English that 1 year. Maybe it could have been after that interview, you know, the one where you changed up everything about the way you interviewed, and you walked in the same way you walked out, with your head held high, and a day passed, and a week passed, and 2 weeks passed, and you never got nothing, but you don't want to go to any more outside networking things because you may run into that same person that didn't offer you that job. So you wanted to stay at home at that point. All of us have had times where we felt like Chris Tucker and said we never, ever wanted to go outside again. You weren't in prison. You weren't in jail, but yet you limited your options like you were. You didn't want to go to basketball games. You didn't want to go to that dance contest. You didn't want to go to one more networking event because you had lost all hope. And yet in the stillness of your home, you found encouragement. You became content in whatever situation you were in. You realized although someone said no, some things didn't go your way and the sky did not fall as you thought it would, things eventually got better for you. That's where Paul's talking from today. He's actually in a jail though. And they didn't have mattress pads the way we do. See, the thing about this book, Philippians, it is seen as one of the happiest books of the Bible, yet it was written in prison. Our circumstances does not have to determine our joy. Our circumstances don't have to determine our joy. How can someone sit there in a jail cell and write a word that says, I know what it is to have plenty and I know what it is to have nothing, yet we're at home, Amazon still comes, the cable has not been cut off, the car is still in the driveway, we still have jobs, but we don't have joy. How is that today? How is that we have literally had everything we've wanted. We have had good grades. We've had stamps in our passport. Bought one house, lived there, did not like it anymore. Bought a whole nother house. Climbed up the corporate ladder, slipped some, and climbed back up again. Had kids, found the right school, put them in every sport imaginable just to look like Cruella de Vil Sunday morning and say, I want to go outside. We have the audacities to sit in our homes and be mad with an attitude saying, I can't wait for outside to open again, when the reality is we all just need to sit down and recall the times when we didn't want outside to reopen and realize that through it all, God kept us. He kept us. It wasn't us, it wasn't our aunts, it wasn't our mom, our dad, our say uncles. God solely kept us, and He alone gave us courage to go back when we wanted to sit in. See, the truth is that Paul's in a jail. He didn't build a jail, and he did not deserve to be in. Yet his solitude forced him to take a look back over his life and recall everything God's brought him to and through. See, make no doubt that he's in a jail simply because he proclaimed the name Jesus. To understand how he ends up there, you have to know that Paul Paul, although he's technically an apostle, never actually walked with Jesus until a resurrected Jesus appeared to him on Damascus Road. Those that had power over him opted to put him in jail. See, I found tension in this, that Paul found contentment in a jail that he did not create for himself. While right now we're acting as if the actual places that God has given us to call homes, places that we've painted, places that we've ordered furniture for, hung up pictures, is a place where we can't find contentment. And a detained apostle writes us to let us know that there was a time when, like him, we could go out. There was a time where we've had it all. There were times where we've had nothing, yet and still things, all things we did not give ourselves the status or anything else nobody gave. The status that someone else tried to give you won't give you strength. It's simply that we can do all things through Christ, and he's the one that gives us strength. We should find strength for today and a bright hope for tomorrow, simply in the same way Paul did. He found contentment and realizing Christ gave him strength. Whether rich or poor, mortgage or rent, DDOT, Uber, or Ally, or a $1,200 hoopty off Craigslist, what we had was never supposed to be our peace. Our contentment comes from the hope and the actual strength and our ability to realize Christ provides our all in all. Jesus said it best when he said, I used to have nothing, but now I got a whole lot of everything. And trapped in our homes, we need to realize that we used to have nothing, but God has provided everything through this crisis for us. We have to remember that we should not rush this silence, but we should use this time to be connected to our source. Let us not come out of this disconnected even further from him. Let us not forget when we had to find contentment in our homes because we didn't want to go outside. Let us not forget that in the middle of this pandemic that God has us isolated, but he keeps us insulated. There's no need to be afraid of outside not being there because we know who holds outside. He's the Alpha and the Omega. He's the Rose of Sharon. He's the lily of the valley. He's the bright morning star. Some folks say he's a waymaker. God keeps us covered through all of the crises that either we make or others make for us. This is the word of God for the people of God. Guess what? Thanks be to God. Happy Mother's Day. Bless you. It's offering time, Commonwealth. It is offering time. It's it's one of my favorite times of service because this is the time in which we are called to give back just a portion of everything God's given us back to him. There are several ways you can give. You can cash app us at $ Commonwealth Church. You can do it the old-fashioned way and mail it in to P.O. Box 40941 in Redford Township, Michigan, 48240. Again, that's P.O. Box 40941 in Redford, Michigan. You can give on our website, commonwealth313.org. You're already on it, I know. Or you can give using the Givelify website. Using the Givelify app, simply by downloading it from the App Store, searching our name, Commonwealth of Faith, and use it to give. Amen. Let us pray. Father, we are so amazed by these wonderful gifts. Bless these gifts and givers. Allow them to see the sign that's right there on the actual service and know that there's multiple ways to give. Bless those that have it to give and those that don't have it this week, but they'll have it next week. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. Perhaps you heard that word and you're looking for a way to be connected not only to this church and this Christian community, but to spend time with God deeper, and you need a church home. Right there on the bottom of the screen, there's an email address that says info@commonwealthoffaith.org. You can either send us an email and say that you need prayer, say that you wish to join, or simply go on our website at this time and say, where it says I'm new, click that link and you can add that information in, your name, your email address, and someone, probably me, will definitely reach out to you soon. Listen. What we realized during this crisis is that we were never meant to be disconnected from the source. So right now, this is your opportunity to get plugged in with a church home and a proper community that loves Jesus. This is your opportunity right now. Is there one? I see you right there, worried about, will I actually get the email? Yeah, I will. And as soon as you send it, guess what we'll do? We'll actually love on you, pray for you, and we can't wait to see you again